Hi, my name is Rick. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I want to go over for sure 4 things that are essential to my program. Number 1 is I have to turn to God. Number 2 is I have to work the 12 steps of Overeaters Anonymous. Number 3, I have to be in the fellowship. I need the group to recover. This is not something I think I can do on my own. And number 4 is do not eat my binge foods, my alcoholic foods, under any circumstances whatsoever. And of course, the obvious thing, which we sometimes take for granted, everything I say today, I'm speaking for myself. This has not been approved by the Group Conscience of Overeaters Anonymous. I'm only speaking for me. But by the grace of God and the 12 steps that I found in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous and the fellowship of this group, and not touching my binge foods, I haven't found it necessary to have an eating binge for 1,543 days, one day at a time. And I can assure you I am very, very grateful for the fact that I do not have eating binges anymore. Now, before, I was like a drug addict. And I would just gorge myself at night with food, not nutritious food, and it didn't matter how much I ate, it wasn't enough. And I told myself the same lie thousands and thousands of times. Tomorrow I'll eat right and everything will be good, but I needed the stuff that night to get me through. I'm going to eat this now, and how magically tomorrow everything was going to be better. I don't care if I'm not a compulsive overeater. I don't see how doing that ever would have formed a good habit for me, but I'm a compulsive overeater. I've seen brain scans of people that are obese, and they do not get the same stimulation in their brains that a normal eater does. Once you're gorging yourself like that, your brain does away with the dopamine receptors. I have a brain that's not like a normal eater's brain. I have an abnormal physical reaction to those foods because when I start eating them, I cannot stop. I have the obsession of the mind that rules out anything else that tells me it's okay to eat those foods. And then once I eat them, it triggers an abnormal physical reaction. And then the plan that I follow now, I do keep a food journal. Here's my little food journal. And that's today. I write down calorie targets. And then when I have a meal or a snack, I write down what I actually eat. I have a sponsor. She's wonderful. She lives on a mountain, and she sits on a rock, and she wears a white robe. And when she speaks, there's a harp that plays. She is wonderful. She's wonderful. It's like talking to an angel. But she's my sponsor. She's wonderful. She's great. I'm not sure if I would still be around if it weren't for her. And she was nice enough to sponsor me in this program. And I want to share the fact that when I came to OA, I had no friends at all. And she was nice enough to sponsor me. And yeah, I wanted to work the program, but it was nice to have someone to talk to. I would say that was part of the reason I got her as a sponsor, but I did want to work the program. I don't like the eating binges. And I will say, I've been abstinent a little over 4 years, that compared to when I first got abstinent, the eating binges just seem dumber and dumber the more removed I am from them. And the only thing I would say in my experience, the longer your abstinence, it never gets to where it takes no effort, but the effort required for me is less now than it was early on. If you read Dr. Bob's Nightmare, he missed the alcohol for about 2.5 years. And I missed my binge foods for a little over 2 years. I guess that's not very encouraging to people, but eventually I don't want that food. I surely don't want to go where it takes me. And then I follow an eating plan. I won't say the name of the place, but I got it there. 25% of my calories come from protein, 50% from carbs, 25% from fat. I eat 6 times a day. It was suggested to me that I eat 5 or 6 times a day. That's a bit of a heresy in OA. Everybody talks about 3 meals a day with nothing in between. But in my eating plan, I eat 6 times every day. And I've done that for 12 years. It served me well. And at my peak weight, not when I came to OA, but in my peak weight, I was 310 pounds. I'm 6'2", I ain't that tall to be 310 pounds. I was 42% body fat. And then today, as I sit here today, I think my body fat percentage would be right around 17%. For my age, I'm a healthy weight. And when I weighed yesterday, I was 199 and a half. Barely in Wonderland, but I'm there, and I'm grateful to be there. And then, since we're talking about things we do, I send my weight to my sponsor every week. I wear a Fitbit, and I get a little report from Fitbit every week. I send that report to my sponsor. She knows when I've been sleeping. She knows when I'm awake. Anyway, and it's a good thing. And one of the things that helped me in the past was to get rid of my fear of being hungry, which is weird. I used to be afraid to be hungry. Hunger, in my mind, it's a normal part of life. And it was a strange, but if you're a compulsive overeater, I guess it makes all the sense in the world that you'd be afraid of being hungry. But praise the Lord, I'm not afraid of being hungry now. I view that as a normal part of life. I wake up in the morning, I'm physically hungry. I'm glad. On some level, if I'm not physically hungry, I'm not sure why I'm eating. That doesn't make sense. But if you're a compulsive overeater, I used to eat just if food would fit in my stomach, but I don't do that anymore. I eat, my goal when I eat is to nourish my body. I still like my food, I enjoy it, but my goal now is to nourish my body. And for me, I get some exercise. Again, that place I went to, they suggested that you get a bunch of exercise. And I do call my sponsor 5 days a week. I listen to her, and I unfortunately I'm not perfect in doing everything she suggests, but many things she has told me to do them, and I do them. There was a service job that I had, and she said, no, you keep the service job. So I kept it because she told me to do it. If I'm not going to pay any attention to her, why would I call her? I have other people that I sponsor. And it's very important to me that anybody that I sponsor, I don't tell them what to do. It's not my place to tell them. I make suggestions to them. And I do not say, I do this, you should do that. They have to work out their own eating plan. If they even choose to do any exercise, that's between them and God. I know one sweet woman in the program that I suggested she get an eating plan. And she, at the time, had been in the program for 9 years and did not have a plan of eating. And for 2 years, she was mad at me for suggesting to her that she did get an eating plan, but it really, she didn't like that. And if I had it to do over, I would, and I will say that in my own defense, that my suggestion to her was, you seek God's direction as to whether you should have a plan of eating. And I wasn't, so I wasn't specifically telling her. And that's so key in this program, to seek God's direction. Where are we? I have notes. I pray every day, I attend meetings, and I like to take about a 3-mile walk. Don't do it every day, but most days I'm out there usually with the dogs. We walk about 3 miles. That's my time when I meditate. It's not perfect meditation, but I'm meditating. I cannot take a walk and not meditate. I'm not able to do that. I try to be honest with myself, and honesty for me is an honest assessment. When I did step 4, yes, I listed character defects, but I also talked about my good qualities. My understanding and what I do is not just try to beat myself up. I don't get in the infinite loop of, I need to eat better, I need to exercise more, I need to write more. I don't write very much in the program, but I do some. I do a small amount. And the tools, anyway, I'm just saying that I do not work a perfect program. I have no plans to work a perfect program. Specifically in my eating plan, it's been suggested to me that I should eat twice as many vegetables as I do fruit. I don't do that. I eat about 3 times as much fruit as I do vegetables. And I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. But that's what I do. Where are we here? I have a food plan. I keep the food and exercise journal. And then I want to mention one thing, and this is of inspiration to me. And this has to do with my assessment of how hard is this plan? How hard is it to do? In my mind, it takes work. I don't view this program as hard. I'm sorry, I do not. If somebody wants to say it, that's their business. My uncle fought in World War II. And he went over and fought in the Pacific. And I won't tell you all the stories, but one time they were in a running battle with the Japanese, trying to kill the Japanese, and the Japanese were trying to kill them. No eating, no sleeping, a running battle for 3 days. That's hard. That took effort. My uncle got a field promotion from sergeant to captain because all their officers got killed. And it wasn't until years later I realized that he was a captain and he ordered men to their death. That's hard. That's a very hard thing. I don't view this program as hard. I view that it takes work. And if you want to have the plums and sit around and say, oh, this is hard. Oh, I can't eat as much as I would like to eat. Well, then go ahead and do it. None of my business. And then I heard somebody recently in a talk, I thought this was great. You really, really only need to get step 1 nailed. You've got to get that one. You cannot, there's no slack on that one. You got to get that one right. The other 11 steps, you do your best. You do your best. And you don't have to work the steps perfectly, believe me. I even heard one speaker talk about there's no wrong way to work the steps. You do the best you can. And of course, we read the steps this morning, they're on the wall, but the recipe for how to work the steps is in the big book. And then other things, for me, it's easier to change your environment than it is to change your mind. I make sure I have nutritious food in my house. If it's a binge food for me, I don't bring it in the house. Now, my wife has her stuff. She eats things that are binge foods for me, but that's not my food. I have no interest in eating that food, and if she eats it or not, that's up to her. But it is the other thing I do is I carry emergency food in my work van so that all the time there's some nutritious food that's not a binge food that's there ready to go. And then I pack my food. Some of my battles are fought the night before, where I have all my food prepared for the next day. And I do heating and air conditioning, so I'm out in my van all day. But I pack my morning snack, my lunch, my afternoon snack, and I have enough food to eat for an extra 24 hours. I mean, I don't get into my emergency food maybe once a month. Easier to change your environment than it is to change your mind. And I would actually caution people in this program that just because something works for somebody else doesn't mean it will work for you. And unfortunately, I have met people in this program that tried to discourage me and get me not to come to meetings. And don't, be an adult. If you meet somebody who's a step Nazi, you're not doing the steps right. You need to do them the way I do them. Just stay away from those people. They're not there to help you. And if somebody tells you, oh, you should eat the same way I eat, those people are poison. Stay away from them. They're negative people. And I'm not saying that most of the people in the meeting are not here to help you, but don't think that somebody, just because they come to an OA meeting, that automatically that they're a nice person and that they want to help you. Now, I have a couple readings I'd like to do, and I got it, because I want to point at the books. I'm going to mention my 4 favorite books: the book Alcoholics Anonymous, the AA 12 and 12, the book As Bill Sees It, and the book Living Sober. Not opposed to any OA approved literature, but those are my favorites. And then every morning I do my prayers. I'm not going to do all my prayers, but I will do my first step prayer. Dear Lord, help me to see and admit that I am powerless over my compulsive overeating. Help me to understand how my compulsive overeating has led to unmanageability in my life. Help me this day to understand the true meaning of powerlessness. Remove from me all denial of my compulsive overeating. Dear God, my name is Rick, and I need your help today with my compulsive overeating. And this is one that I do just for today. Just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle all my problems at once. I can do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt I had to keep it up for a lifetime. I'm very, very, very much in favor of, for me, when I do my prayers, I'm praying that God helps me not to have an eating binge today. The extent of my plans in this program go through Saturday, today. I'm not worried about next week. I'm not worried about what's going on. I'm worried about what I'm doing right now. That's what I need to do. And then I have a couple readings out of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've already alluded to this one in the doctor's opinion. And I will say that when I was early on, everybody talked about the first 164 pages, and I read them. They're great. And then I discovered the recovery stories in the back, which inspire me as well. I love the recovery stories in the back. And then I discovered the preface and the appendices. It's all good. It's all good. It all inspires me. But in the doctor's opinion, this is XXVI, third edition. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, and that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs to the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. And once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. And when I'm talking, I tend not to say that I have an allergy to food. I tend to say that I have an abnormal physical reaction to the food. And it's not, for me, it's not the modern meaning of allergy is a little different. So, and I like to just say that I have an abnormal physical reaction to the food. And then here's a passage that I read every morning because I'm old and I forget things. And this is, again, third edition, 448. It helped me a great deal to become convinced that alcoholism was a disease, not a moral issue. That I had been drinking as a result of a compulsion, even though I had not been aware of the compulsion at the time. And that sobriety was not a matter of willpower. The people of AA had something that looked much better than what I had, but I was afraid to let go of what I had in order to try something new. There was a certain sense of security in the familiar. At last, acceptance proved to be the key to my drinking problem. After I'd been around AA for 7 months, tapering off alcohol and pills, not finding the program working very well, I was finally able to say, okay, God, it is true that I, of all people, and strange as it may seem, and even though I didn't give my permission, really, really am an alcoholic of sorts. And it's all right with me. Now, what am I going to do about it? When I stopped living in the problem and began living in the answer, the problem went away. From that moment on, I have not had a single compulsion to drink. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life, unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. and then on 451, third edition. Then one day in AA, I was told that I had the lenses in my glasses backwards. The courage to change in the Serenity Prayer meant not that I should change my marriage, but rather I should change myself and learn to accept my spouse as she was. AA has given me a new pair of glasses. I can again focus on my wife's good qualities and watch them grow and grow and grow. I can do the same thing with an AA meeting. The more I focus my mind on its defects, the late start, the long drunkalogs, the cigarette smoke, the worse the meeting becomes. But when I try to see what I can add to the meeting rather than what I can get out of it, and when I focus my mind on what's good about it rather than what's wrong with it, the meeting keeps getting better and better. When I focus on what's good today, I have a good day, and when I focus on what's bad, I have a bad day. If I focus on a problem, the problem increases. If I focus on the answer increases. And then I do want to reiterate, I don't know what I did with my, oh, here it is. I need to do 4 things in order for me to remain abstinent. Number 1, I need to turn to God. Number 2, I have to work the steps, the 12 steps of Overeaters Anonymous. Number 3, I have to be in the fellowship of Overeaters Anonymous. And I can never eat my binge foods, my alcoholic foods, under any circumstances. Thank you for letting me tell my story.
Okay.